people. I wanted to make this video because a lot of people seem to be surprised when they learn that I am dyslexic, since I read so much. Which is something that I both understand and don't really understand, because I think joy in doing something is not necessarily linked to how good you're at something. I wanted to discuss today how I actually got into reading, being as dyslexic as I am, because I am definitely quite dyslexic and I have worked really hard on that when I was a little bit younger. So I got diagnosed with dyslexia when I was about, I want to say 8 years old, so fairly young. And it was such a relief for me to learn that I was actually dyslexic instead of just stupid, because that is honestly what I thought I was before the diagnosis, which is really, really sad to think about. So I learned I actually had dyslexia, and there was a name for the struggles that I had with reading and writing. And because of that, I did not feel stupid anymore. So huge relief for me. And yes, that is very harsh to think about, but that is how my little tiny brain was working back then. And in school I worked really, really hard to learn how to deal with my dyslexia. I went through quite a few sessions with a therapist to learn how to deal with my dyslexia and how to see the strength that also comes with it, because most people with dyslexia actually are very visual thinkers, me included. So there's definitely also some pros that come with the diagnosis. But besides all of the working and therapy that I did to learn how to deal with it, what actually helped me most was just reading. And mostly starting to enjoy reading, so that I was actually doing it a lot more with pleasure, which I think is probably the most important thing here, because enjoyment in something is going to make anything so much easier. So my parents actually found this book series for me when I was quite young. I don't really remember if this was before the diagnosis or after. I think it's probably a little bit after the diagnosis, and I just know the Dutch title. It's De Hopeloze Heks. I will see if I can find the English version, and I will link both in the description box if I can find them. But these are books that were actually really good for my age and that are very enjoyable to read. It was a story that I really enjoyed. I loved fantasy, still do actually. But these were written in pretty easy language and also with slightly bigger letters. And that is probably the series that actually got me to enjoy reading and that really got me into it. So that's definitely a tip that I have for you if you are dyslexic and you struggle with reading. If it's the letter size that bothers you, it doesn't really as much for me anymore, but it definitely helps to have slightly bigger letters. Because when you're dyslexic, sometimes the letters kind of jumble together. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's really weird. You actually read a word that is not really there somehow. It's really odd. And having the letters slightly bigger, so it's a little bit easier for your brain to register what it says, can actually help quite a bit. So finding books with slightly bigger letters but in a story that you really enjoy is going to help you a lot to enjoy reading it more. And also nowadays you have e-readers, which I actually prefer reading on my e-reader because I can change the letter size of the books, which is so helpful. So I will often have my letter size that's slightly bigger than your usual books, or than it is set like when you first get it. And it actually helps me a lot with reading. So that's another great tip for you, just finding out how that's gonna work. So just to summarize some things that really helped me to start enjoying to read. 1, I found a series that I really enjoyed, which was written in easier language. And then 2, I actually managed to find books that had slightly bigger letters. Or you could also see this as using an e-reader, so you can adjust the size of your letters. I will also have my e-reader linked down below because I really do enjoy that one, since you can adjust both the letters, but it also has like a built-in little reading lamp that actually self-adjusts to how dark it is, which is really nice if you like to read at night or in the early mornings. So that was me starting to enjoy reading in Dutch, which is my mother language. It's the language that I grew up speaking, and that's really easiest for me. So a little bit later on, we're jumping all the way to when I was, I want to say, like about 16, maybe 17 years old, which was in high school. I started to read in English. So probably for a big part because I do have dyslexia. I have always really struggled learning a new language, and English being the first language that I learned besides Dutch has been a serious struggle for me to learn, even though I'd like to say that I'm fairly fluent now, but I have definitely worked to get there. So I really struggled learning English among the other languages that you learn here in the Netherlands. And the thing that actually ended up really helping me was I started to read in English and actually enjoy it. So at our school you had basically these hours where you could work on your homework, so you could kind of choose what you were doing, and at some point I was done with all of my homework. And one of my friends who is really good in English, I think she actually went to like a bilingual school, maybe even just an English school, I don't really know, but she's really fluent in English and she was already reading in English quite a bit. So we actually enjoyed books by the same author. I had only so far read some in Dutch, but it is an English author. So she had a couple of the original books from the same like teenager series that I already had read in Dutch, so from within the same world, just a different series. She lent me those on her iPad, so I could also again make the letters slightly bigger, which was a big help, and I just started reading them and I really enjoyed it. So I started reading those in English, and every time that I was done with my homework I would start reading again. It's something that I really genuinely enjoyed, that I loved doing. And it was also really good practice for my English, because when it came time to do when the exams were getting closer, I ended up not having to go to the exam training for English, because I actually really got my grades up a lot just before like the assessment for that, because of the reading in English and the actually enjoying it. So I started to read in English if an original book that I wanted to read was in English. I would see if I could get the English version so I could kind of practice my English, and also just to read the original, because I find reading a translation compared to the original, it's not always quite the same. Some words just kind of get lost in translation when you are reading in a translated version of a book. So yeah, and I mean the author that we are talking about is actually Kelly Armstrong. I love her like Other World series. I've read them multiple times, both the teenager versions as well as the adult version. Really enjoy that. So yeah, I do like reading fantasy. So that is how I started to enjoy reading in English as well. So by this time, most of my free hours would be spent reading. I genuinely loved it. I would spend entire days reading, which of course has a big impact on the ease of reading. And then now we are at the current time. So 26 years old, I started learning French a couple of years back through Duolingo. My boyfriend is half French, he is fluent in French, and I just kind of wanted to learn the language. And a little bit about me, I was actually allowed to drop both French and German in high school because I was so terrible at it. In our high school, you could kind of keep redoing your tests if you didn't pass them. And I was basically at a point with those languages where I was still learning for the redo of the tests and failing all of the current tests and also failing the redos of the test. So it was just kind of going on and on like that, and it was not good. So they actually allowed me to drop both French and German because I had such a horrible time trying to learn those. And it was also not helping with my other grades, so they were like, well, focus your energy on your other subjects and it's okay if you drop those two. So I did. So I started to kind of do it in my own time a couple of years back, and I've definitely made some progress. I am nowhere near good just yet. I'm definitely not fluent. I don't understand most of the things if people are actually talking French to me because it's going way too fast for me. But I am definitely noticing that I am making progress. And this summer when we were in Paris, I actually ended up picking up a comic book series in French. Le Grimoire d'Elphie. Again, it's fantasy, it's just a super cute story, and it is a children's version, so it is doable for me to read this. And again, that has actually really helped me with my French. So another tip might be, whether it's in your own language or in a language that you are trying to learn, maybe pick up a comic book, if even like the children's books are maybe a step too far, because you have the pictures to support the story as well. So if nothing else, you could kind of look at the pictures and that can definitely help you translate it. And also because it isn't as much text, it's easier to go through and easier to kind of look up things that you don't understand while doing so. So that would be another tip for you. So to summarize, my tips for starting to enjoy reading with dyslexia, or honestly even without it, is 1, finding a series that you enjoy, that you love, or finding an author that you love, finding like a genre that you love. And now I do read more different kind of books, but in the beginning just stick to something that you enjoy, and if you have a little bit of trouble finding it, you don't need to finish a book if you don't enjoy it. I am someone who has a really hard time kind of grasping at that concept, I guess. But if you don't enjoy a book, you can just stop reading it and try and find something else that you actually do enjoy reading. So find something that you enjoy reading, then also find something that has slightly bigger letters, or read on an e-reader so you can make the letters a little bit bigger, which makes it easier to read for you as well. And then last but not least is see if you can maybe find a comic book series that you enjoy, because that does read a lot easier as well. So these are all kind of little tips to help you find something that you enjoy, because the more time you spend on reading, if you have dyslexia, the easier it's going to be, and also the easier writing is going to be, because you are getting more familiar with the letters. So those are my tips for you. I would love to actually hear if you have other tips regarding either reading or writing with dyslexia, or in general to find joy with it. I also do write a lot, so that probably helps as well, even though I know it is full of little mistakes if you would read back like my journals, and that's okay. I hope this was helpful for you. If so, please give it a thumbs up. It actually really helps out my channel a lot if you do so. Maybe subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. I wish you a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!